Tony here from the Online Seller Circle, and within the Growth Workshop session today we're going to be talking all about mastering metrics for growth. Now there's one thing that all business owners have in common, that they want their business to succeed, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what products you're selling, what problems that you're having to solve. Every single business owner wants to succeed and rise to the top within the business industry that they are in. But how? Most people know what success feels like, but what does success look like? And contrary to popular belief, this doesn't actually have to be super complicated for you to figure out, because although success could look slightly different depending on what you do, almost every business can track success in one way or another. So, and how do we do that? It's obviously with tracking metrics. Now, it's a methodology for tracking growth that we use every single day. For example, if you're trying to get fit and lead a healthier life, you're going to want to track your progress against metrics. So how much sleep are you getting versus what you actually need? Do you need to improve that? Your heart rate, your activity levels, how often are you actually active every single day? The more active you are, the more fitter you're going to become. Your preferred fitness activity, for example, or the calories and nutrients that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis are going to have an impact. And it's exactly the same for a business. So let's talk about high-level success metrics inside an e-commerce business and why they're important. Because using the right metrics to track how your business is doing is a surefire way to tell you whether or not your business is growing. And they're trackable, they're concrete, they're easy to understand, and also they take the guesswork out of the process for you. Now you can track your metrics right now, regardless of what kind of stage of the business that you are in. And in you doing that, that allows you to then compare where you are now to where you were last month or where you were last year, depending on how long you've been set up and operating that business. And the most important thing that you can use is those numbers to actually project what success will look like next month, next quarter, and a year later. Now, when we map out what we want to do right, and also looking at kind of what went wrong within the business, and looking at the past is obviously great for that. Now, that's exactly what one would do if you're analysing products, for example. So you're looking at the history of the product that you potentially want to purchase to then resell. And none of that matters unless, of course, we actually figure out how to take what we've learnt from the past and then actually apply it to the future. Now, tracking the right metrics gives you the milestones, and it also gives you checkpoints that you need to be hitting to then help you evaluate exactly what you've done in the past and what you need to do differently in the future. Now, reliable ways to quantify success does depend on a number of factors, and it can actually be undervalued at times. Now, in an evolving business and an evolving world like we're in currently at the moment, you always want to be looking for an edge, and you want to be looking for an edge over the competition that you've got within the industry. So other competitors on product listings, for example, they might be using the same suppliers, and you need to kind of think outside the box and have the upper hand to ensure that you can still get the same stock in if it's replenishables. How are you going to do that, and how are you going to actually track that? And it's all about metrics. So tracking your success through metrics also allows you, as I said, to be concrete and ensure that you're figuring out what worked really well and what you can then replicate and do again and again and again and again to achieve the same result. Because ideally what we want to do is we want to grow the business, we want to make more sales, we want to increase our profit, we want to increase our bottom line, and also ultimately you're doing this because you don't want a second job. You want to then grow your team members so that they can then utilize and work towards these metrics as well. And the best part is that you don't have to spend a lot of time and money to track your own metrics. It only takes a little bit of effort in terms of setting it up, and once you've got it set up, it's then very easy for you to check those on a regular basis. Now, what metrics matter? Truthfully, there's lots of metrics that matter within the business, but we want to kind of break it down as to kind of which ones are high level and which ones are low level, which ones are really important for you to check as a business owner, and then as you grow your team, which metrics you need to put in place so your team members can obviously utilize those as a benchmark to improve their performance and work towards to ultimately reach and achieve, allow you to help you reach and achieve those high level metrics. So let's jump into an e-commerce business in full. So we will potentially look at metrics for an arbitrage business, but also private label, for example, because a lot of them can be used in each of those strategies if you're doing that inside your business right now. And what we'll also do is look at the KPI. And welcome back. So let's jump into high level success metrics. So this is you, the business owner, what you need to be looking at on a regular basis and what you need to take control of. So if you're not doing this right now, take some notes and make sure that you start doing this going forward. So for an arbitrage business, we said we'd look at e-commerce. What we'll also do is look at some high level success metrics for a private label product as well, a private label company, but we'll also look at arbitrage. So it's the full kind of works from an e-commerce business. So the first one, number one, is your revenue per month. So we're looking at month on month your revenue. This is obviously your total gross sales that you're achieving January, February, March, all the way through to December every single year. The second one is your sales count per month. So in terms of your sales count, how many units and how many orders, for example, are you achieving on a monthly basis? Now that will vary depending on whether it's a peak month or an off-peak month, but you need to check and see how many units and also orders that you are receiving. The third one is your COGS, so your cost of goods, and also in there your other expenses. So you're going to have variable and you're going to have fixed costs on a monthly basis, and you may on 1 month spend more money than you actually make in terms of gross sales in revenue, but you need to be able to track that because you might be filling up your inventory because it's a big peak month for sales, but you know potentially you're going to get that revenue is going to be up in the future months once that stock goes in and is live to sell. The fourth one is profit. So this is obviously your sales minus your cost of goods if you're looking at products particularly, but obviously if you are also looking at your business as a whole, bottom line would come in under profit, and therefore you're looking at your sales minus your cost of goods, minus any business expenses that you have as well. So software, for example, accountants' fees, other subscriptions that you might be paying for. And then the final one is your ROI. So this is obviously looking at your profit over what you've actually purchased in terms of your costs per product. So you'd have your ROI and your profit on each product that you're sourcing and you're then reselling, but also you may have your ROI as a whole within your business as well. The other two that you can look at if you do venture into private label is the number 6 is unique visitors per month. So how many visitors you are getting to your listings. So if you've got your first private label product, your second one, so how many are you getting in terms of unique visitors, and that's month on month. And then the final one is your average cost per click. So this is in relation to you paying for marketing, so paying for sponsored ads, etc. on the listings that you're looking to sell. Now, you may want to decide to do this at a later date with regards to your private label products, if you want to specifically get rid of items that are not selling, and actually put a sponsored ad or put a sale on for those that customers will see. Alternatively, you might actually want to use that as one of your tactics, so that could potentially come in under arbitrage as well as private label. Now, these are the metrics, the stats that matter most in business, because they're the ones that are going to give you a bird's eye view of what's going on. So what's going right and what's going wrong. And also these metrics are very broad as well. They're not granular. They're broad, looking at the overall business and how it's performing. And also, you know, it gives you an account for the accumulation of kind of all the work that you're doing. And as I said, what is working and what's not. And this means that they all translate as to whether there's actually money trickling into the business bank account. And these metrics are, again, what you're responsible for. So let's take this one here, the revenue month by month as a metric. Now, this is what every business, regardless of what business you're in, property, sales, marketing, e-commerce, this is what everyone needs to be tracking, regardless of the industry or the niche that you're working in, to measure the and project your growth. Now, it's literally the number that tells you how much money is flowing into the business, and the one that you definitely need to obviously keep your eye on, because if you've got no sales coming in and you're spending money on a monthly basis, then you're not going to have any profit. The business isn't going to be viable. So that's something that you definitely need to take consideration in, and make sure that you set this up so that you're tracking these on a regular basis. Now, there are only one kind of part of this metric that you could use as an explanation, is the time span. So although some businesses may elect to do a formal evaluation of revenue on a yearly basis, monthly evaluation is definitely more effective. I wouldn't leave it until every year for you to look at your revenue, so how much you're making. That, if you're doing it monthly, you can then see how the revenue fluctuates through the different quarters of the year, you know, the stock that you have, etc. And then you can learn how to analyze and adapt the strategies that you're using in a timely manner if you're assessing this on a monthly basis. If you track it on a weekly basis, you're potentially going to risk overreacting to inconsequential shifts, because it's too regular, it's too frequent if you're reviewing this on a weekly basis. As we know, within an arbitrage business, when you buy stock from a supplier, it can potentially take 3 to 4, maybe a little bit longer weeks from the date that that's been purchased to actually understand and see the true value in terms of the sales that particular order or those goods are bringing you, given the logistics and the time it's going to take to get them live inside the warehouses for customers to purchase. So the last thing you want to do is drive yourself insane and be measuring this on a weekly basis. It's definitely monthly. Monthly tracking is the way to go, and finding those numbers that you need to look at further than looking at your books or looking at your bank statements. Now, if you have a designated accountant as well, ask them. It's that simple, you know, but it is really important. Now, for sectors of an arbitrage business, you'll want to also drill down what metrics these sectors need to be using or need to have, and also then the team members or even the third party that you might be utilizing that's operating that sector, because they're going to need to be aware of them, and they're going to need to know what actions they need to take, so what processes that they need to complete that will then allow them to achieve the KPIs and the metrics within that sector, and allow you to then achieve your high level success metrics as well. So let's look at the sectors of an arbitrage business. So the first one we've got is sourcing. And so this is you sourcing teams, sourcing methods and channels that you utilize. There's going to be metrics inside that sector. The second one is review and purchase. So this sector is obviously looking at all of the deals that are coming into the business on a daily basis, and then reviewing those deals, shortlisting them, and purchasing stock so that you can then obviously resell and grow and hit your sales targets on a month-by-month basis that you're tracking. The third one is shipping. So this is obviously prepping and shipping the goods that have been purchased from this sector here, or this team, and you may be doing this yourself, or you may be utilizing a third party. Even if you are utilizing a third party, they still need to have their own metrics, and you can obviously work with them to ensure that they're meeting the deliverables, they're meeting your expectations, and they're not having a negative impact on your business. You want, if you're using a prep center, for them to exceed expectations and to be exceeding the metrics that you have got set within your business. The fourth one is the business admin. So this is the account health, this is the customer service, this is inventory management. So looking at the metrics, what all of those processes that happen within that sector of the business, what do they need to be? What does the team need to do? If you're doing it yourself, what are you doing at the moment? What is important? What isn't important? And you need to build out metrics for those. And the final one is finance. So on a day-to-day, weekly, monthly basis, what needs to be done in terms of finance for the business? So metrics within each of these sectors of an arbitrage business allows you to review the performance of the people operating in that sector of the business and the sector itself. So these are known as, or the metrics inside each of these sectors are known as KPIs. So let's take this one here. Let's take the shipping sector as an example. And what we'll do right now together is we'll build out a list of KPIs that this particular sector of the business needs to work towards achieving. So there's 7 in total. So regardless of whether you are doing your shipping yourself or you're using a prep center, a third party company to help you prep your goods and then get them into the warehouses. These are the 7 KPIs, the metrics inside that sector that everyone needs to be working towards. And the first one is the total units shipped per day. So of all of those products that have arrived from the various retailers, how many have actually been shipped? Because if they're gathering dust in your bedroom or at the warehouse, at the prep center, and they're there and they're not being shipped in, or you haven't got enough to fill a box to get them shipped in, time is money. So if you're not getting stock sent in consistently on a regular basis, you're going to see your sales do this, and it's going to look like an ECG chart. It's going to be really inconsistent. So that's really important. Of stock available, how many units are being shipped in today or every day of the week. Bearing in mind also when you're closed, so if you take the weekend off, or the prep center is closed as well, so that will have an impact. Total shipments, so shipments being one box or a shipment of 2 boxes or 3 boxes, so how many are going in on a daily or weekly basis. So you need to set your targets. You'll know if you need to achieve £5,000 profit per month based on your minimum profit per unit, so the profit margin that you won't go below per unit, you can actually very quickly work out to achieve that 5,000 given your average sale price in your Seller Central account, actually how many units that you need to ship in on a monthly basis to actually achieve that £5,000 profit. We can take into consideration a percentage, 75 to 80% of those being sold, because you're looking for goods that are going to sell quickly. You can then work out very quickly how many units that on average you need to ship in, and this is where these figures come from. The next one is the total shipment discrepancies. So here we're looking at how many issues are there? So of all of the units that are being sent in within those shipments on a daily basis, a weekly basis, how many issues are you having whereby products are damaged? How many units are being damaged? Are you or the prep centre filling those voids within each of those boxes to ensure that damage is mitigated? How many units are Amazon saying that they haven't received inside that shipment? And there's processes to help resolve those issues, but we are ultimately want to ensure we nip it in the bud at the root cause and ensure that the discrepancies that we are seeing are minimal. The fourth one is hazmat materials. So how many items have you purchased that have slipped through the net that were actually hazmat or perhaps dangerous goods, were missed at the sourcing or the purchasing stage, that then cause you actually an issue when they reach you or the prep centre? Because as we know, hazmat materials, dangerous goods, needs to be shipped differently, and also within the same shipment you can't mix non-hazmat or non-dangerous good with hazmat or dangerous good items. If you have got a couple that slip through the net, you've suddenly then got 2-3 units, let's say, at the prep centre or at home, and you're going to need to find more of that stock to actually then make it viable to send it in, because of the additional cost that it's going to take to get it into the Amazon warehouse. The fifth one is unlisted products. So of the goods that you've purchased, the process is, ideally before you even purchase them or your team purchases them, you should have them listed on Amazon under your Seller Central account, because if something's missed and suddenly, as we know recently, Amazon have put limits in place to specific ASINs, so they might say that you're only allowed to send in at one time 100 units of a product. If that product isn't listed on your Seller Central account first, and the team or you don't identify a problem, if you go ahead and purchase it and then you receive the goods, or the prep centre receives the goods, and you actually can't send it in, you then got a bit of a headache and some administration to complete in terms of actually either getting that returned or refunded, or wait until you're able to send it in, but you may then incur further storage fees. Another example is if you're utilising a prep centre and you're using their shipment management service, where they're dealing with all of the shipments for you, so you don't have to do anything in terms of setting the shipment side of it up and sending them the labels, and a lot of prep centres offer this service now. If you don't have the products listed and they're received at the prep centre, they may actually charge you a small fee per product that has arrived at the prep centre that actually isn't available for them to process because it's not on your Seller Central account. So bear that in mind, and that's definitely something that you need to ensure is being completed in another sector of the business, so that it doesn't then impact the shipping side. The sixth one is open shipments at the warehouse. Now we say warehouse because I'm assuming that the majority of us are using a prep centre. Your warehouse might be your garage, your shed at this moment in time. Open shipments. So have you got loads of orders that have been delivered? You're ready. You've started prepping them, putting them in a box. Something happens, and you've got an open shipment that's there now for a week and has not been sent in. That's money in that box. It's exactly the same with the prep centre. How quickly are they receiving your orders, processing them, getting them in a shipment, and then actually getting them out the door? What's their turnaround time? What did they say to you before you signed up? What are their metrics? We guarantee a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. Why have they not fulfilled that? Is it actually because you haven't sent enough stock in for them to actually fill that box up to 15k or whatever it is to then get it sent out? So are you doing everything, as your team do everything that they can to ensure the prep centre is fulfilling that metric? But if you are, why are they not doing it? So that needs to be assessed too on a regular basis as well. And then the final one is potential to be shipped. Now this is shipments that have been prepped and that have been logged in the let's say UPS's website to be collected, but we can't get same day collection. How many are due to go out? Because ultimately all of these metrics need to be met on a consistent basis in order for you to ultimately achieve your high level success metrics that we spoke about earlier. So get those written down, make sure that you're using those in your business ASAP, and you're ensuring that your expectations are being met, and that if you haven't yet had a conversation with yourself, if you're doing the prepping, or with your prep center, and you've analyzed performance and you feel that they are falling short, let's say on this one, and potentially this one for you, what can you do in order to improve the performance in those areas? Let's take another example, and let's look at the sourcing sector. So if you've got sources in your business right now, you need to make sure that they are aware of the KPIs that they need to be working towards on a daily basis in order for you to achieve, or for them to achieve, the requirements within their role that you've set them. But equally, if you're sourcing, you can use these same metrics at the same time, because ultimately if you've got no deals coming in, so if you're not sourcing, or you haven't got a sourcing team or a sourcing service, and you're not actually utilizing those channels on a daily basis to then actually purchase goods, you're not going to get any sales. So let's break down the sourcing team process and what every sourcer within the business needs to achieve on a daily basis. Now, the first one is the total deals per day. How many deals per day do you need to have coming into the business in order for you or the reviewer to shortlist, and then of which purchase? And this needs to be daily, 5 days a week, 7 days a week. It ultimately depends on the scale and the size of your business, and also your why and what you want to achieve. So what your overall kind of projected metric is in terms of revenue. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How many deals do you need to have coming in? So what's the target? What's the percentage that they or you need to strive to achieve of that total target on a daily basis? So if the target is 10 deals a day and profitable winning deals a day, that won't happen every single day, as we know. They might get days where they have 14, they might get days where they have 6. What's the kind of the lowest benchmark percentage of that total? It could be 75%, 80% that they need to strive to achieve. How many are they currently achieving on a daily basis now? What's the impact of that? And on average, what is that? What does that number look like on a weekly and monthly basis? The second one is, of the deals that they're achieving on a daily basis, how many were winners? So how many have actually been shortlisted and have been pushed through to the purchasing sector to actually go ahead and buy? And we're talking about a product line, so one product. The purchasing team might buy 10 of them, might buy 3 units or 20 units, depending on kind of what the deal brings in terms of profit and ROI. But how many of those total deals that they provided you with were actually winners? And this is exactly the same if you're using a deal service as well, or a deal sheet, that you want to ensure that if you're paying for that service, that you're getting winners on a daily basis, not just loads of deals that actually you're not buying at all. The third one is products that are identical. Now, how many of those deals were actually identical products, i.e. the supplier listing and the Amazon listing? Was it exactly the same product? Because if they are sourcing deals that are slightly different in terms of weight or size, for example, or it's a completely different model. So let's say a PS4 game. They always bring out different versions, and sometimes different versions have free serial codes to plugins. Is it a like for like? Because if you're missing that, your sourcing team's missing it, and your purchasing team's missing that as well, you're going to have a bit of a problem when the customer receives that item and actually it's not what it should be, what is stated on the Amazon listing as well. So ensuring that every single product that they're sourcing that is a winning deal is identical to obviously eradicate any problems down the line. The deadline is the fourth one. So was their report, i.e. was their sourcing sheet delivered on at the same time every single day? And it should be the same time every single day, because if they're not delivering, or if they're making up and delivering at 9 a.m. one day and then 1 p.m. the next day and 10 a.m. the following day, if they're not meeting a specific time frame to deliver those deals to you, what's that going to do? It's going to then push more pressure on the reviewer, and also if that reviewer is doing the purchasing as well, they're not going to be purchasing consistently on a daily basis. It's going to be all over the place, and they're going to have a plan, as well as the sourcing team needs to have a plan, and you need to have a plan. So everyone needs to be singing off the same hymn sheet and ensuring that the deadlines are met. Obviously, if you're setting a deadline for 7 o'clock in the morning and your VA only starts at 5 o'clock in the morning UK time, they're probably not going to be able to meet the target that you've set them on a daily basis to find all those winning deals within 2 hours. So you do need to bear that in mind as well, and make it realistic. And the fifth one is the input of values. So this is really important, and actually it's used to be a bit of a bugbear of mine that, within my business, whereby attention to detail. So of the deals that the sourcing members are providing you on a daily basis, how many have got broken links, the URLs don't work, incorrect pricing, even to the point of, for me, formatting, where they were not correctly following the format of the spreadsheet and they were deleting formulas, because again, that causes an issue. Our sourcing sheets are very advanced, whereby they automatically calculate the performance of each VA that's sourcing within the business, and if they're deleting formulas accidentally because they haven't followed the correct process in the tutorials to use that sheet, that then also causes issues, and it causes administration, or unnecessary administration, and time from one of my other team members who manages them. So really important to ensure that you're tracking, of the deals that they're providing you, making sure they're using the sourcing sheet correctly, but also that what they're giving you, they're telling you the true cost in terms of the unit price, the resale price, all of the stats that you need, and also that all of the links work, so it makes light work for the purchasing and the reviewing team to actually go ahead and analyze and then purchase those products. And the final one is out of stock. So OOS, out of stock. How many of those deals were out of stock at the time that sourcing team member delivered the deals versus when the reviewer purchased them? Because ideally, what you want to do is have your sourcing team members delivering by, let's say, 10 o'clock, and give or take 15 minutes, the review and purchaser then comes in at 10:15 and starts reviewing those deals. The chances of deals suddenly within the space of 10-15 minutes being out of stock, it depends on the time of year. Q4, that's probably likely, but other quarters and months of the year is fairly unlikely. So you need to ensure that the sourcers know that they should be sourcing goods or deals that are in stock. They need to take that extra step within that process to ensure that they verify the retailer, if it's a new retailer that they've never sourced from before, to ensure it's not a scam website, it's a legitimate retailer or supplier, but also checking whether or not it's in stock. So do they need the postcode where that stock needs to be delivered to? Because your purchasing team's going to need that, but can the sourcing team have the postcode so they can do a quick check to see whether or not that stock is available before they even place it on their sourcing sheet for you. So by defining these KPIs, and we've given 2 examples of the shipping sector in the business and also the sourcing sector in the business as well, it will allow you to set targets for the team members and the third parties to work towards. Obviously, for you to set parameters and enable you to quickly identify where the strengths and weaknesses are in the system, within the processes and within the tasks that those team members are utilising, and also within the setup and management that you're having within the business and managing those team members as well. Now, remember also that we're not firefighters. We are fire prevention specialists, let's say, and we want to obviously implement systems to ensure that we don't continually have to manage problems. We want to work on system enhancement and system maintenance in order to obviously prevent problems from happening in the first place. And this should be one of the key principles in your business that you work from and that you also instill within your team members as well. So take some time out to define what KPIs in each sector of the business that you need and that you need to work on systemizing so that you can then effectively manage and measure your performance in each of those sectors. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or the OSC team, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.